What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the Hannahcast YouTube channel. And today we're going to be talking about my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2023. Now, 2022 I would say was not the best year for movies, at least in my opinion. A lot of people seem to disagree, but for me 2021 was so much better because there was so much more variety in the kinds of movies. 2022, there was a lot of gaps in between movie releases, and so it made this year kind of boring and underwhelming. Granted, I have not made my top 10 best of 2022 list, but that will be coming sometime next year, either in January or February. I don't really know. As with anything regarding this pandemic era, this is barring any kind of inevitable delays. In fact, that's actually why I didn't do a most anticipated of 2021 list, because this looked like that year looked so, what's the word I'm looking for? Unpredictable. Hell, I didn't even do a most anticipated of 2022 list either. 2023 is at least looking like it's going to be some kind of normal. So here we go. Let's start with some honorable mentions. The first honorable mention is Cocaine Bear. The trailer alone for this movie looks insane. Like, it sold me immediately. Like, when I heard the premise of this film, it already sounded kind of interesting, but good God, even the bear, the CG bear doesn't even look that bad. It actually looks pretty good. But it's such an insane concept, which granted, this is sort of based on a true story, but if you really know the true story, this is nowhere near accurate to the actual story. But regardless, this still looks like a blast at the movie theater. It looks campy, it looks fun, it looks creepy, but it also doesn't look cheap. And that's what I'm really excited for when it comes to Cocaine Bear. Another honorable mention is Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Now, I'm actually looking forward to this movie for different reasons than other people, but maybe also similar reasons. I don't play D&D. I don't play D&D. I know I have friends that play D&D. I just don't really have an interest in playing it. But despite the fact that I have never played D&D, watching the trailer for Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, I can already tell this gets D&D. Because, they're talking like how modern people talk. They're talking with, modern slang and even, modern humor. But that's kind of the point of D&D. It is just a bunch of friends playing a board game, being goofballs. And it really does look like this film captures that kind of spirit. The next one on this list is Pixar's Elemental. With a concept like this, Pixar is gonna kill it. Now granted, Pete Docter's not directing it. When I heard that Pete Docter was directing Soul, I knew it was gonna be a masterpiece, and I was right. But still, Elemental does look very cute. It does look like a really fun concept, and also, it shows Pixar is, still trying to try out these new visual styles, like with Turning Red. It shows that you can take advantage of different styles to make more distinct animated movies, and I'm really glad that this is becoming a big trend. The next honorable mention is Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. I don't know anything about this movie, to be honest, but it's Martin Scorsese. More likely than not, he's gonna deliver a masterpiece. I mean, hell, I loved The Irishman. I mean, that movie was like 3.5 hours long, and it felt like it was 2.5 hours. That's pretty amazing, given the circumstances. So, yeah, I don't know a whole lot about the film, so it's probably why it's not in my most anticipated of 2023, but I am looking forward to it enough to call it an honorable mention. Another honorable mention is Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Look, it's Tom Cruise trying to kill himself in a film. It's already gonna have my ticket. Top Gun Maverick somehow became one of the most beloved films of 2022, becoming one of the highest grossing films of all time, and it's on its way to being nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. I'm not expecting Mission Impossible to repeat that success, but it's just showing how, committed Tom Cruise is to delivering, really fun action movies. And I am really looking forward to Dead Reckoning Part 1. I will say, I just hope there's nothing like that skydiving scene in Mission Impossible Fallout, where they're skydiving, but they also add in the CG storm for like no reason, because I'm sorry, but skydiving in of itself is really dangerous. Like, why do you need to add a CG storm into the mix? I'm hoping there's none of that in Dead Reckoning Part 1. Just let the action speak for itself and use the effects to support said action. The next honorable mention in this list is Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. People either love this idea or hate this idea, because now that Winnie the Pooh is in the public domain, anyone can make a Winnie the Pooh movie. Look, I'm just gonna say it, I think it's a great idea. I mean, look, this filmmaker, whoever this filmmaker is, I forget his name, even if this movie sucks ass, he still gets to say, I made the first Winnie the Pooh movie after the character went into the public domain. That is now mine. I have that legacy, and no one can take that away from him. And I find that actually to be really inspiring. And the trailer looks all sorts of fun. It looks actually creepy. It doesn't, obviously you can tell that it's on a very small budget, but as long as they use that to the film's advantage and don't try to do things that they aren't capable of doing with that budget, I feel like Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey could be a lot of fun. And the last entry in my honorable mentions, which, if you've noticed, was all in alphabetical order, so don't complain to me about the order of this whole thing, is Wonka. I mean, it's from the director of Paddington and Paddington 2. Those movies are great, and it's starring Timothée Chalamet. And I love the Willy Wonka character, so this is a match made in heaven. Again, I haven't seen a trailer for this yet, and honestly, a lot of my most anticipated films are kind of going off of trailers, because when I see the trailer, it gives me a lot of context for what I'm going to be expecting. So, knowing that, like, I don't exactly know what Wonka is going to be like as a film, so take that for what you will. And now, let's get into the list. Number 10 is The Little Mermaid. Oh, everyone has something to say about this film. I am looking forward to this. The director is Rob Marshall. I find him to be a very fun director. There's a lot of new songs by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And look, I think Halle Bailey is going to be incredible as Ariel. At the very least, her singing is like, ooh! The effects are looking really good. Even the idea of Melissa McCarthy as Ursula, I kind of like that idea, because, everyone's going, oh, what, the comedian who just falls on her butt because, fat jokes? Well, she's a lot more capable than just that. Like, she actually is a very good dramatic actress. Obviously, I don't think she's gonna, deliver a performance on the scale of Can You Ever Forgive Me, but I still think she's going to be a very good Ursula, and it will be interesting to hear her singing voice. Granted, the Disney remakes have been a bit hit or miss for me, but at the same time, this isn't going straight to Disney Plus. I have a lot more faith in this because it's a theatrical release. Number 9, Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. The only reason why I am looking forward to this movie is because of Bumblebee. Bumblebee was such a big surprise. I mean, I shouldn't have been really that surprised because it was from Travis Knight, who directed Kubo and the Two Strings, but at the same time, he'd never really done anything live action before, so maybe there was room for concern. But not only was Bumblebee pretty good, it was great. Like, even the critics, and I would never have anticipated the critics loving Bumblebee this much. And even the fact that Stephen Caple Jr., who directed Creed 2, is directing this film, gives me a lot of hope that it's not just going to be like one of those dumb Michael Bay Transformers movies. It's actually going to be fun. It's actually going to be exciting. It's going to be showing us some things that we haven't really seen before from Transformers. And good God, look at this. It just looks amazing. And so that is why Transformers: Rise of the Beasts is number 9. Number 8, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I'm not gonna lie, the MCU is a bit rocky right now. It's pretty hit or miss. Sometimes you'll get something great, like Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Spider-Man No Way Home, and the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Sometimes you'll have things that are pretty good. Thor: Love and Thunder was pretty good. You know, I thought WandaVision was really enjoyable, but I wouldn't call it great in my opinion. You know, I thought Loki was pretty good. You'll have some okay ones, like Hawkeye I thought was okay. What If? It really depends on the episode. This is the first time where I've actually disliked this many MCU projects, where I didn't like Black Widow, I didn't like Miss Marvel, I didn't like Werewolf by Night, and I didn't like Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. It's like, that's a concerning amount of MCU projects that I don't like. So I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the MCU, my hype has been kind of dying a bit. But I have all in the faith in the world of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, because James Gunn always proves himself. James Gunn, like, whether he's doing Guardians of the Galaxy, which is more family friendly, especially the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, or whether he's doing something so incredibly R-rated like the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, he knows his shit, and it's actually one of the reasons why I think he's going to be a really great head of DC. And so I really do trust him with Guardians of the Galaxy. I think he's going to give us something really funny, really exciting to watch, but also I feel like this is going to be the most heartfelt out of the Guardians of the Galaxy films, and I personally can't wait for it. Number 7, Creed 3. Now, look, yeah, I know there's been some throwing of hands between the Creed franchise and Sylvester Stallone. I don't care. I feel like the Creed movies really do hold their own against the Rocky films. And when you watch Creed 2, I'm like, there's not really a reason for Rocky to come back. He had his happy ending. But now with Creed 3, this can now focus on Adonis himself. And like, this is his film now without the help of Rocky. This is now the film that he is heading. And not only is Michael B. Jordan obviously the star of this is his directorial debut, which again, I really think this is a good idea. Because it's not like Simon Kinberg, as his first film, jumping straight into a $200 million blockbuster with Dark Phoenix. No, this is a smaller franchise of films, you know, with the Creed films. And this is a franchise that Michael B. Jordan is very knowledgeable of and has been working with some of the greats, like Ryan Coogler, like Stephen Caple Jr. And I feel like this is going to be a great entryway for Michael B. Jordan to become a really good director. And even from the trailer, it already looks like it has more of an indie feel to it, but good lord, it's Creed. I love these movies. I think Creed is one of the best sequels ever made. And Creed 2, I was late to the game on Creed 2. I wish I saw that when I made my top 10 best movies of 2018, because it would have absolutely been on there. These movies are so good. And so by that logic, I have to put Creed 3 in my top 10. Number 6 is Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. I will say this was higher in the list, but the trailer didn't really sell me 100%. I'm interested, but so far it's looking like kind of the same stuff we've seen before. It looks like we're going to be getting some new animation styles. That's going to be interesting. But overall, I think my main problem with the trailer is that it's not giving me a whole sense of the story. Like, what is this story about? You know, what's the actual conflict? We know there's a bunch of Spider-Man. We know he's going to be coming against Spider-Man 2099. But what's the story? And so that does bump it down a few notches, but regardless, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse I still think is one of the best Spider-Man movies ever made. And even if the marketing so far isn't selling me, I mean, the marketing for The Mitchells vs. the Machines didn't sell me, and that was also produced by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. And so I have to assume that, you know, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is going to repeat that. I mean, these two are so good at, even when they're not directing movies, them producing movies just leads to gold. And so I still am very interested in this film. Number 5 is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. to be honest, I'm not the biggest Indiana Jones fan. I like the original trilogy fine. I mean, I don't love them, and I'm honestly kind of on Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I don't think it's very good, but I also didn't get, passionately angry over it like a lot of other people did. But what makes me so excited for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is that James Mangold is directing it. This is the guy who directed Logan and Ford v Ferrari, and look, and Walk the Line, and look, I really liked what he did with the Wolverine. And so taking all of that into consideration, I'm super pumped for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I like that this film looks like it's gonna go in a more gritty direction. I mean, because look, if they said that Spielberg was coming back to direct this, I mean, I honestly would not be as excited for it as I am now with James Mangold. And that's not to throw any shade at Steven Spielberg. I just think he's better nowadays at doing like these Oscar bait kind of films, like Lincoln, like The Post, like West Side Story, like The Fabelmans. I feel like that is his wheelhouse. Like that's where he really shines nowadays. But with, action adventure films, I mean, they're more hit or miss. So I wouldn't have been anywhere near as excited if they announced that Steven Spielberg was directing. The fact that James Mangold is directing is what sells me. I'm super pumped for this film, and like I said, I think we're gonna get right back to that Indiana Jones grit. Number 4 is a movie that even before the trailer came out, every time there was news about this movie, I was like, I have to see this film. And that is Greta Gerwig's Barbie. I mean, seriously, Greta Gerwig, the writer and director of Little Women and Lady Bird, is directing this film? And not only that, her husband, Noah Baumbach, who was the writer and director of movies like The Meyerowitz Stories and Marriage Story, and he's co-writing this with Greta Gerwig? And you have Margot Robbie as Barbie, you have Ryan Gosling as Ken, you have the new Doctor Who as Ken, you have Simu Liu as Ken, and all this cast, and on top of all that, this really funny trailer. I'm just like, I have to see this movie. And I've said this before, with everyone making memes about Barbie and how it's going to make a $1 billion, I feel like Barbie is going to have the meme hype that Morbius had, except Barbie will have the quality to back that hype up. Because everyone's going into this film memeing on it, but look, it's Greta Gerwig. I would not be that shocked if this ended up being a heavy Oscar contender. Seriously. I mean, again, this is Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach working on this film. So it's gonna be really funny, yeah, but I think it's also gonna be really profound. And I know it's kind of weird because we're talking about Barbie, but like, the filmmakers speak for themselves. Even if I hadn't seen that trailer, the fact that Greta Gerwig is directing this movie and co-writing it with Noah Baumbach, this would have already been high up in the list anyway. This just screams excellence. Now we get to number 3, which is the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Every time they put out a trailer or a new look, a clip of this movie, this film looks charming as hell. Not only does it look charming, it looks funny, it looks creative, it looks like it's going to just capture the spirit of playing Mario. The voice cast looks really funny. Chris Pratt, I'm just gonna say it, doesn't sound bad as Mario. He sounds fine. Jack Black as Bowser, though, was what shocked me. Because when they said that Jack Black was gonna be playing Bowser, I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna probably sound like this. But no, the moment he just goes, open the gate, I'm just like, oh, that's what we're dealing with here. Yeah, that first trailer was pretty funny. It was pretty good, with the whole penguins and stuff. But then that second trailer came out, and Peach has a fucking fire flower. She's gonna go and kick some ass, and fucking Mario Kart is in this movie. Mario Kart, holy shit! And then they had that clip where he's going through the Mushroom Kingdom, and it looks adorable. The music is incredible. This just looks amazing. And yeah, you're probably shocked that I'm putting this over Spider-Man into across the Spiderverse as my most anticipated animated film of 2023, but I don't care. Mario, I feel like, is doing a much better job, at least with the marketing, than Spiderverse is doing right now. It's getting, every time they put out something new, it's getting me more and more hyped. I cannot wait to see the Super Mario Brothers movie. Anyways, on to my pick for number 2, which is Dune Part 2. I mean, Dune was already one of the best films of 2021. It was actually number 2, I believe. And this film, again, we don't have a single trailer for this. But, however, having seen the first Dune, I'm really excited for this. Like Dune was such a well-crafted science fiction film, and the fact that it won 6 Oscars without a Best Director nomination still boggles my mind. How did Dune not get nominated for Best Director? Like, that is insane to me. But regardless, Dune was an incredible science fiction film. A lot of people had problems that, you know, considering the book was split up into 2 parts. And, you know, the first Dune is covering the first half of the Dune book, and Dune Part 2 is, you know, covering the second half of the Dune book. It didn't really bother me because I was just engrossed into watching Dune. Like, I still have not even watched it on HBO Max or 4K Blu-ray or anything like that. Like, I haven't even bothered. Like, Dune is one of those movies where it's like, I don't want to see it if I can't see it in a movie theater. This is just gorgeous to look at. The visual effects were fantastic. The sound design was incredible. And I can't wait to see more of that in Dune Part 2. And now, my number 1 most anticipated movie of 2023 is Oppenheimer, directed by Christopher Nolan. I mean, Christopher Nolan is my favorite director of all time. Like, the only film of his that I didn't love, much less even like, was Following, and that was his first movie. Every film that Christopher Nolan has put out afterwards, whether it's Memento, whether it's Insomnia, whether it's Batman Begins, whether it's The Prestige, whether it's The Dark Knight, whether it's Inception, whether it's Interstellar, whether it's Dunkirk or Tenet, I love the rest of his films, after Following. Again, I didn't like Following all that much, but again, he was a first-time director with that. Every film since Following, I have thought was a masterpiece. I loved Tenet. I thought Tenet was an incredible theatrical experience. I loved how crazy it was, how crazy these action sequences were. And it was just so amazing. And now we're getting Oppenheimer, which is about the guy who created the atomic bomb, who later lived on to regret that part of his life. I mean, that whole line, where he says, I've become death, the destroyer of worlds. That's such a, that would normally come across as such a corny, thing to say, but he's right. The atomic bomb is the most dangerous thing humans have ever created, and it probably could be our downfall. And I can't wait to see this stuff explored in this Oppenheimer film. And on top of that, it has one of the most insane cast lineups I've ever seen in my life. You have Cillian Murphy, you have Matt Damon, you have Robert Downey Jr., you have, who else is in this movie? Emily Blunt, Florence Pugh, Dane DeHaan, Kenneth Branagh, Josh Hartnett, Benny Safdie. Wait, Gary Oldman? Is Gary Oldman in this? Holy shit. Rami Malek, Alden Ehrenreich, Alex Wolff, Casey Affleck, Jack Quaid. Who else is in this film? I know Josh Peck is in this movie. Jason Clarke. I mean, and David Dastmalchian. I think that's his name. And that's not even all of the cast. And somehow this film managed to have a budget of just $100 million. And I can't believe this. And so, yeah, I'm immensely stoked for Oppenheimer. Like, I've loved every single Christopher Nolan movie that has come out, so why wouldn't I be anticipating this? I will admit it was a bit hard, you know, trying to juggle whether I'm more excited for Oppenheimer or Dune, but it's Christopher Nolan, man. I love Christopher Nolan as a director. And so that is the reason why Oppenheimer is my most anticipated film of 2023. And that begs the question, what are your picks for the most anticipated movies of 2023? Let me know in the comments below what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a like, share the video so that you can appease the algorithm gods. It really does help. And if you want to see more, click this.